Hello, in this video, I want to show you how the new feedback function works in Pear Deck. So right now, I've launched a Pear Deck session. I am in my teacher dashboard. So pretty much if you started the lesson, launched a student-paced activity, and then you press go to teacher dashboard, you'll be brought right to the teacher dashboard. If you are in a mode that looks like this and you don't have the extra controls on the side, then you just click on the three dots here, open the dashboard in a new window. And so you just need to be in the teacher dashboard so that your screen kind of looks like this. So now that we are in the teacher dashboard, I have one student who has completed this activity. So let me start with a short answer type question. So what you'll see is this leave feedback option right here. So if you click that, you can type in any feedback and then send the feedback. Let me go over to the student view. What they'll see as they're working or after the fact is that they have some new feedback. So they just click on that and they can go to the slide just like that so that they can remember what the question was. And then they would click on this again. They would see the feedback that their teacher has left them, and then they can mark it as read once they've read it. It will still remain down here, so still they can click on it and they'll still see it. It just won't be a red alert anymore. They can continue working. Let me go back as a teacher and go to the next question. Again, I can leave some feedback. Send feedback. As a student, I have new feedback. Again, I can go over there, go to slide, and I can mark that as read also. As the teacher, any work that I've left feedback on, it will be grade. So I know that I left the feedback there. If I needed to add more feedback, I can do that. Just like that. Now, there is no way for me to know if the student has read my feedback or has not read my feedback. And in order for the student to see the feedback, they do need to be in the specific Pear Deck that was assigned. So if you are giving them feedback and they're not doing the activity on the spot, you would have to build in an activity maybe the next day where they go back, they go through their Pear Deck, and they look at any feedback that you had given them. They make sure to mark it all as read and then ask you any questions that they still have. But that is pretty much how the teacher feedback works. One thing to note, if you are in something like this, where this is a draggable type question, and you know how usually with the draggables, they all stack right on top of one another, you'll see there's no feedback button. And the reason is because you're looking at all the answers stacked on top of one another, which is the overlaid layout. If you instead change it to either the grid layout or the list layout, then you'll have the ability to leave feedback on that question type also. So you can leave feedback on all the question types. If you're not seeing the feedback option, just make sure you're not in overlaid layout, because then you can't leave the feedback because you don't know who's who. So you need to be in either grid or in list layout to get the little feedback bubble. So before I close this, I'm just going to go through some of the frequently asked questions that Pear Deck has up on their site. So no, you don't need to wait until after the session is closed in order to use this. As you saw here, the student was working in this tab while I was leaving feedback in this tab. You can use this in instructor pace mode or student pace mode. What I demoed today was in student pace mode. So the student was working and the teacher was correcting at a different time. This could also work for full class instruction though. One idea is to assign this in student pace mode so that students can go through the whole thing. You leave feedback, and then the next day in class, you actually launch this again. Students can sign back in, no problem at all, log back into that same session, all the answers are still there, and then instead of having student pace mode on, stop student pace mode, and then you can take them through slide by slide and ask them, all right, while I'm going through these slides, please look at your feedback. And so the students can then see the feedback. That could be a way to review the answers in class the next day. Next frequently asked question, can my students respond back? No, they can't. Their suggestion here is to have them add another response. So what that means is in a short answer question like this, if they look at your feedback, sounds good to me, and then maybe I forgot to mention something, maybe I gave a piece of advice here, students can add another response and they could type something new. They can also always change their answer because that's how Pear Deck works. It's live. They could change their answer on the spot. Can I publish or export this feedback? The answer is no. Students will see their responses when you publish the takeaways, but not the feedback that you've given them. So again, you want to make sure that you're going over that in the classroom at some point so that you're sure that students see your feedback. You cannot delete feedback. How will students know they got their feedback? Again, as we said, they need to be logged in to that Pear deck to see the feedback for that Pear deck. So you need to make sure that they're looking back. And that's really it. Those are the major frequently asked questions. And hopefully that's a good summary of how feedback works. It's still in beta in Pear Deck, so I'm sure they're still working on some of these features, but this is a really great way to finally be able to give students feedback on the spot, especially if it is an asynchronous session and students are working. You can see them working in real time and you can leave them some hints along the way, give them corrections on the spot as they are working. So I hope this little preview is helpful, and that's it for now. Bye.